or thinking about reuse ahead of time was that the two biggest drivers would be cost savings and environmental benefits. And it's not that those aren't important; they still are. But the third key one of sovereignty over supply chain has been a lot more important than I realized.
Welcome back to the Clean Techies podcast, where we interview climate tech founders and VCs to discuss all things building and investing to solve the biggest challenge of our generation, climate change. Today, we have a great episode with James Wilson, the founder and CEO of reUser, REUSER, where they are helping crack the code on reusable containers from dining institutions. James became interested in the problem during COVID by realizing how much of a negative impact he was having through the waste of his takeout. It's all about the user experience and taking out the friction. So what they're currently working on is they're working with universities to implement and test this technology to kind of refine it before they end up going out to other institutions. It's a really, really fascinating problem and solution that really involves user experience and human psychology, which is probably why I'm really fascinated by it. I really, really enjoyed making this episode and having this conversation, and I hope you do as well. Enjoy the episode. All right, welcome to the show, James. How's it going?
I am doing quite well, having a good day out here in Connecticut, and excited to talk to you more about what we're doing and be on this podcast.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you. I think what you've got here is pretty interesting. Obviously, we've been able to speak prior to recording the show, so it's always good to have some context for myself, so I'm not just poking in the dark. But let's kind of get us started with a bit of background on yourself and what you're doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm James. I'm the CEO of reUser. So I have been working on reUser for the past 2 years, and before that, graduated from Wesleyan University in 2017, and then started working at a ticketing technology company where I fell in love with the software development lifecycle and working with clients to better understand their problems that they were facing to help build features with developers to really solve those problems. And in the midst of the pandemic, just really took a look around me as to what was going on with their environment, and saw how much takeout packaging waste it was contributing to and how it was contributing to the global plastic waste crisis. And thought back to my time as a student at Wesleyan University over 5 years beforehand, where we had used reusable takeout containers like these that could then be taken away from the dining hall to get food and then be brought back and cleaned and used again. And it was like, why are these not getting used in other places? And started to talk to restaurants about this and really discovered that it wasn't a cost thing. Their takeout packaging costs were only continuing to climb. And supply chain issues were actually making it harder for them to access the packaging that they needed, but they just couldn't trust that their customers would return this packaging back to them. So I then talked to my own university and several other universities who are running reusable containers programs and discovered that they were really struggling to keep that packaging in circulation there as well, and really drove me to spur on and look at how we could really build better systems of reuse and make this more feasible and dive into the root causes that were really driving that, so that we can really make sure that these better feasible economic systems can actually ensure different milestones are hit and really keep more of this packaging and other items in circulation as well.
Awesome. You've covered all the big things right away. I like this that we get right into the meat of things. So just to kind of recap, you got interested in climate essentially and sustainability during COVID. You had that realization, and you're helping solve the problem, which is not so much the containers per se, but more getting the behavior of the consumers to bring these containers back so they can be reused. So I want to have you tell us a bit of stats. I'm sure you're quite familiar. Can you give people a bit of color on what is the real problem with the circular economy, more broadly speaking? What could be done? What are we looking at as a kind of total negative impact currently?
There's a lot of different facets in the circular economy and like what really how different things are touched on with that. That being said, with recycling systems currently, recycling was never meant to capture everything, and it's not capturing everything. Whereas many people are now familiar with the statistics that less than 10% of items that could be recycled actually are. And recycling itself often just means what it really comes down to as a definition is that it's taking that material that was in once of its life, breaking it down to then be made into something else, versus a reuse being it keeping that exact same object in its same conditions to where it can be used again and again.
Hey there. Quick break to remind any founders or VCs listening, if you are looking for deal flow, seeking to raise funding, looking for partners to help service your needs, or perhaps you're looking for corporate investment partners, feel free to reach out to us through our Slack channel, which can be found in the description. Because we meet a lot of people in this space, we set aside time each week to make introductions to the various people that we encounter. This is something we do free of charge in order to help these incredible companies solving climate change to scale. Looking forward to hearing from you in the Slack channel.
So when you're breaking it down, there's more energy involved with that process. There's different buyers that are needed to actually use those weaker materials in that process from recycled content. And unfortunately, much of that is not able to be captured at this point in time to actually be used again. But from a reuse, where like the item's staying in its same consistent function, it enables you to avoid needing to manufacture and transport that item again and again from between different locations. It can stay more on site, avoid the costs as well as the emissions involved from more of those processes, and enable and compared to many single-use options as well, the even many bio-based options, the ability to greatly reduce the impact and the cost associated with producing something, because you're not needing to produce it each time. You're just getting a longer lifespan from better materials in that process.
What do you say to people who might be like, well, you know what, that's a great problem, but it's so complicated. Why not just use, biodegradable packaging? Is there a specific kind of argument against that, or is there a specific problem with doing it that way?
So it's not that I'm definitely not against biodegradable packaging. I think there's a lot of rooms where biodegradables can be great options as well, and I think it will be a mix of both biodegradable and reusable to really work on solving this. And hopefully, even some of the more reusable packaging can be made of better like biodegradable materials. It's just right now biodegradable per use is more expensive for more groups to adopt, where much of that packaging has the materials are newer in their infancy, so it just they need to be manufactured each time, be transported to each location. There's still disposable and disposal associated with each of those materials itself, wherever they need to end up, so that they can have some sort of end life. And from any of that manufacturing and transportation again and again in this process and disposal, there's still recurring emissions from that. Whereas with a single system where it's manufactured, then going to a place where it can then be reused again, it's staying in that system and only having emissions from it being cleaned.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, there are some examples outside of where they'll be transported by cars. Ideally, with circular systems, you're really trying to keep them as close to where they're going to be operating, so that you're not needing to increase the impact of those items either, and the cost
Mm-hmm.
involved with each of those materials.
Yeah, so it sounds like even if you do go the biodegradable route, it's not necessarily the most sustainable solution because of the increased, there's more cost, but also, you have to continue producing items and then you're just letting it go. Why has this problem not been solved yet? What's been the main reason why either nobody's tackled it or it hasn't been solved already? Because I'm assuming this isn't necessarily a very new idea per se, maybe somewhat new, but not like, it didn't just come out yesterday, this idea, right? Hey there. Are you building a climate tech business and looking for very specialized talent? consider reaching out to our sponsors, NextWave Partners. NextWave are experts in talent acquisition, recruitment, and retention across the climate tech, renewables, and ESG spaces globally. So if your team is growing or you're looking to make a career change yourself, feel free to reach out to NextWave at next-wavepartners.com or reach out to one of their consultants directly via their LinkedIn page.
It's a good question. And I think that there's not just like one fell reason. I think there's for a long time a lot of our systems have been more driven by consumerism, where the consumer hasn't had to been directly exposed to what their cost of packaging is, where they're not where the suppliers of that packaging have been more interested in showcasing their branding and representing their product information about it versus necessarily providing a package that can be can be reused across other brands to be used as well. And it's one thing that'll be interesting for the circular economy to also work to address, to make sure that these companies can actually still keep some semblance of recognition for their clients that are working to use that. But I think is also a beneficial mechanism of it being reusable packaging is that it's not going to be stuck in someone's mind as something that is thrown away and is a cheap quality thing that can be disposed of easily. In a similar sense to that cost and awareness of the issues of waste, it has not been top of mind for many people. That until 2018,